What's up guys, I'm Suman from Phones Teen. So, Redmi Note 12 is everywhere. It's literally flooding YouTube and the internet. Now, it is a really good phone, don't get me wrong. But there's one phone which in my opinion is much better than the Redmi Note 12. So, in this video, I'm only talking about the Redmi Note 12, not the Pro, not the Pro Plus, only the regular 12. So this phone is much better than the Redmi Note 12 in terms of the specification you get, in terms of value for money. Now it is cheaper than the Redmi Note 12, which in turn gives it much more value. And that is the Poco X4 Pro 5G. So without wasting any precious time, let the fight begin. Now before starting this video, I just want to say one thing. This is not a review. Now I don't have the Redmi Note 12, so this is not a review, and all the data that you see in this video is collected from various articles, various YouTube videos. So I've gone through literally a lot of articles, YouTube videos, blogs, and collected all this data to make this video. With that said, let us talk about the similarities before going into the differences. The similarities here are not much, so let us finish that quickly. Now both have a 6.67-inch AMOLED 120Hz display with 1200 nit peak brightness. Now both have triple camera setup, but there are differences which I'll talk about in the differences. And both come with a 5000 mAh battery, both have a fingerprint sensor, and both run MIUI 13. And those are the similarities between these two smartphones. Yes, so not much. And with that said, I will be talking about differences which make the Poco X4 Pro a much more desirable choice than the Redmi Note 12. And before I go into the differences, please keep the price in mind, because this entire video itself is actually revolving around the pricing of the Poco X4 Pro. Now for the purpose of this video, we are going to be considering the 6GB and 128GB storage version of both these smartphones, because that'll give them a fair chance. And with that said, the pricing of the Redmi Note 12 with this configuration is 18,000 rupees, and for the Poco X4 Pro it is 17,000 rupees. And with that out of the way, let us get into the differences. Now on the Poco X4 Pro you get the Snapdragon 695, whereas on the Redmi Note 12 you get the Snapdragon 4 Gen 1. When you compare both these processors, the difference is not much. When you take a look at the synthetic benchmarks, you get differences of like around 20,000 or something like that. So the difference is not huge, but still the 695 is anyways going to be slightly faster than the Snapdragon 4 Gen 1. Now, is it going to be an earth-shattering difference? Like I said, no. But still, there is somewhat of a performance advantage that the 695 has. And since the Snapdragon 4 Gen 1 is kind of a relatively new processor, much more testing has to be done. And if I get the chance to use this phone, I'll definitely test out, because there are things like, heating, thermal throttling that we need to check out. But until that, in my opinion, the 695 is definitely a much better option to go with. Say if you have the choice between selecting a processor which is going to be a little bit faster than another processor, you would definitely go with the much faster one. So that's the case here, and for 1,000 rupees less you're actually getting that. So that is a win-win situation for me. Now when it comes to the display, the Poco X4 Pro has Corning Gorilla Glass 5, whereas on the Redmi you get only Corning Gorilla Glass 3. This is definitely an improvement when it comes to safety of your displays. Now of course, if you throw it down, both are going to shatter, not wrong, but the scratch resistance, things like that are definitely going to be better on the Poco. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind. Now when it comes to RAM, the Poco X4 Pro has two options. One is a 6GB option and one is an 8GB option, whereas on the Redmi you only get 4 and 6. And remember, for 1,000 rupees less you can get the 6GB and 128GB variant on the Poco X4 Pro, which in my opinion is definitely a much better deal. Now if you're a person who uses your smartphone very hard, like you have heavy usage, you get an 8GB variant on the Poco, whereas on the Redmi you're maxed out at 6. and now for hardcore users, that is a really nice option. And so for 1000 rupees less, you're getting the same amount of RAM and storage, and for just 1000 rupees more, you're getting much more out of the Poco X4 Pro when compared to the Redmi Note 12. Now in terms of the back camera, the primary camera on the Poco X4 Pro is 64 megapixels, whereas on the Redmi it is 48 megapixels. Now I'm a person who doesn't believe in megapixels, so it all depends on how the image processing is. So I'm not going to talk about that. You can watch reviews for that. But still 64 megapixel is 64 megapixel, and if you use your smartphone camera a lot for shooting photos or portraits, that extra megapixel definitely give you more resolution to work with if you're actually serious about the photos you're taking with your phone or videos. Because when you put on your computer and you want to crop in, a little bit extra detail is preserved, and in that case this is better. But if I find any detailed camera comparison between those, I'll have them linked in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Now the front facing camera on the Poco is a 16 megapixel camera, whereas on the Redmi you get a 13 megapixel camera. Now again, the same thing applies to the front camera. So because of the little extra pixels on the front camera, you're going to get a little bit sharper selfie when compared to the Redmi. Now if you're a selfie lover, that is definitely going to be really helpful. And finally, this is a very important thing to me, and the thing is that both these smartphones get a power brick, so that is, you get a charger. But on the Poco you get a 67 watt fast charger, whereas on the Redmi you get only a 33 watt fast charger. You have to keep in mind. So both have 5000 mAh battery, so if you want a quick charge, the Poco is going to charge your smartphone much faster than the Redmi's. And I think that is a huge thing. I mean, in the first place, getting a charger is a huge thing, but getting a really fast charger is definitely an advantage. And the last difference is that the Poco is much more heavier than Redmi. So yeah, that is one thing. Now I think it's time for a conclusion. So as I said before, pricing plays a huge role when it comes to making a decision between both these smartphones. Now when you compare both these smartphones, the value you're getting from the Poco is much more better than the Redmi, because for 1000 rupees less, or be it for 1000 rupees more than the Redmi Note 12, the specifications you're offered is much more better than the Redmi Note 12. Now, not that the Redmi Note 12 is a bad phone, no, but Poco is much better. And since both are from the same company and both run MIUI, it's basically you're using Xiaomi's phone, so both are Xiaomi's phone. So in terms of user experience, when it comes to the software and stuff, it's not going to change much, but the value on the Poco is much better. Because if you're someone who's really hardcore and multitask like anything, you drain your phone a lot, then the 8GB variant on the Poco is definitely going to be useful, whereas on the Redmi you don't get an 8GB version because it's maxed to 6. And if you want only a 6GB variant, I would suggest go with the Poco because it's 1000 rupees cheaper, and you can save 1000 bucks. I mean, 1000 bucks is not cheap, so you can save that money and go with the Poco X4 Pro. And the only reason I would ever go with the Redmi is because it has a much minimal design which I like, and it is much lighter than the Poco. So that will be the only reason why I personally will go with the Redmi, or else I would definitely stick with the Poco X4 Pro. So which one will you go with? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks for watching, and this here is Suman signing off once again. Catch you later.